We are an initiative that seeks to encourage self-expression through different arts mediums. So in today's webinar, we will be learning from our guest speakers about different kinds of career options in music, what it's like to be in the music industry, and some advice on how to navigate the difficult parts of it. But before we get into the topics of our careers in music today, let's start off with some introduction to our speakers. We are so lucky to have Sam Kelder, Ash Gordon, and Carlos Heron Poe, who are astounding musicians, teachers, artistic directors, composers, and so much more. So you will all hear about that very shortly. Thank you three so much for being here. And can we just start off with a quick introduction to all of you?
Thank you, Lillian. So glad to be here. My name is Sam Kelder. I am a Boston-based violist and educator. I am a full-time freelancer on top of that. So you'll often find me playing in different orchestras across the East Coast, often engaged in chamber ensembles as well, and quite enjoy solo music. The music that has caught my attention the most across my career has been contemporary music. So I make a real effort to work with composers, workshopping their music, commissioning new pieces for myself or for ensembles that I play in, and recording this music as often as I can. Education is a huge part of my career. I have a private studio of about 15 students, and I also teach at Boston University. On their viola faculty and coach chamber music there as well. And I spend my summers teaching mostly chamber music. Let's see. So for LGBTQ plus advocacy, I just started in February of this year an initiative called the Queer Ensemble Project, which is a Boston-based ensemble dedicated to uplifting queer voices in the classical music space, whether that's performers or composers. And so far, we have partnered with several different organizations across Massachusetts with a focus on bringing music to queer audiences that we find are historically on the fringes of society. So that meaning the youth and the elderly. We've had 5 concerts this past season and are looking forward to a robust season in the 2025 and 2026 season. I mentioned that I'm forever curious and learning because that's kind of foreshadowing some of the skills that I think are really important if you choose to be a full-time musician. There's so much inspiration that we can find from our colleagues, from the music that we're playing, from our mentors. And I think we always have to keep an open mind to what we can learn from the experiences around us on a day-to-day basis.
That's great. Thank you so much, Sam. Ash?
Sure. Nice to connect with people this evening or whatever time zone you might be in as you tune in. Like Sam, I'm also a violist, and beyond music, I see myself as being very deeply connected just on a human level with all that is around me. So I impact my community impacts me. I am very much a citizen and interconnected. And the way in which I'm able to connect with others is through my artistry. So it may be a viola, it may be through stories, it may be through producing events and sort of creating space, but fundamentally, I am a connector. I am very curious. So like Sam, I do very much think that is a bedrock for wanting to engage in an ever evolving and adaptive and what can be flexible and nimble life as a musician. And I fuse that curiosity with culture. I am first generation American. My background in terms of my family is Jamaican, and with my various studies, which include here in Boston, where I am, include in Germany, and sort of playing with friends, with colleagues in chamber music settings, most especially. I found that I was not often seeing what my family had grown up in and where my lineage falls in the repertoire and oftentimes even with the colleagues who I was playing with. So I very much lead with curiosity and specifically cultural curiosity. I am a proud nerd, and I like to reference that because history is really important for me and learning is really important for me. I also, as a violist, like to take charge. And I think for any other violists in the room, you sort of know what that hopefully could feel like, especially in chamber music. You're very influential. You may be a little bit quiet sometimes, but you're very influential from that viola chair. And I very much enjoy being able to create and mold, think about and bring into life ideas. So the idea of being autonomous, being very curious, enjoying intimate spaces through chamber music led me to create co-found, I should say, an organization here in Boston that celebrates culture, specifically Black culture through music and arts. So again, a builder, connector, using music, and in this case, a platform to be able to engage with all things connective.
Thank you so much. And finally, can we have Carlos?
Absolutely. Unlike my colleagues, I play the drums, the drum set. I was born in the Dominican Republic and came to Boston to attend Berkeley as an undergraduate, and I've been here since. I started off as a performer. Being a performer is a big part of my um, professional career, but I also found passion in as a teaching artist. Um, I work with the Community Music Center of Boston, and through them, I'm able to provide um, arts to my community. I've worked extensively with the Boston community. Um, and another thing I can say is that uh, something that Berkeley has given me is the network that it has provided me, and therefore allowing me to perform not only locally, but it has allowed me also to uh, go internationally and perform in different places and country, which is a great thing to have experience.
Great. Thank you all so much for these introductions. So I am just going to hit it off with a pretty broad question, but choose how to interpret it, of why you chose to pursue your current career.
I'm happy to start this off. I started playing music when I was pretty young. I started as a violinist when I was 6 years old in Houston, Texas. Went through high school playing violin, but not super seriously. I had great teachers, but I didn't practice all that much. Um, and when I was a junior in high school, I started thinking about the possibility of becoming a professional musician. And at that time, I expressed that to my teacher, and she said, "You have an unbelievable amount of work to do, and you have to decide if this is the only thing that you can do or if it's just that you like to play the violin." And I took that advice to heart and thought about it, for a month or so, and decided that I couldn't imagine a life where I wasn't playing every day and I wasn't exposed to the ensemble work that I was doing. Even just my youth orchestra, I found great inspiration from being kind of a cog in this giant machine that creates beautiful music. So it was a little bit selfish. I knew that I wanted to keep music in my life, so that's how I went down the path. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I just say that. Um, so if I then kind of zoom into the present, I've chosen to be a full-time freelancer. There are so many different varieties of or facets of the music career, but I didn't want to be an orchestral musician, and I didn't want to go into music admin. Um, Performing was always at my core. And I find as a freelancer, I get to choose the projects that are most important to me and take those on and devote as much time or as little time as I want to them. And I quite enjoy being able to play with so many different people on a weekly basis. So that's how I've kind of landed in where I am right now. And I might just add one more thing because teaching is so important to me. I was really blessed with the teachers that I got I mean, really throughout my entire life, but specifically in college. I had some teachers that took this kind of, I don't know, raw talent youngster who had so much work to do and really put in the extra effort that at the time I didn't even know they were putting in so much extra effort. But, in retrospect, as a teacher now, I see that they really went above and beyond. And I think that it's really a privilege to be able to do that now with my own students. Um, and I think I've taken up enough time. So that's the end of my answer.
I might chime in just for a few things, and then Carlos, if you want to add on.
Sure.
I had debated when I was in high school whether or not I would be a graphic designer or whether I would do music. I was always interested in creating things. I wrote and illustrated children's books. As a kid, I took leadership and developed all sorts of projects and ideas and clubs and all sorts of things throughout middle school and high school. I did my homework at home so I could practice during study hall. I said I was a nerd. So the idea of being able to dream up something and bring it into reality was very, very much a playground space for me. And music or crafts or visual art, all of that was just sort of the same for me to be able to ultimately play and have fun. I enjoyed getting grounded because that meant I get to practice type of a deal. It was very fun for me. And I even remember in a college audition, uh, someone asking me who I was auditioning for why I wanted to do this. And I said, because it's fun. And quite honestly, it was. I think where I am right now with my uh, performance and artistic director of a nonprofit organization that's in its 12th season at this point, the idea of being able to create space is why I'm doing what I'm doing currently at the moment. And the idea of, again, being a connector, wanting to be able to make a space where others, myself included, can feel supported, can feel encouraged, can feel nurtured. It's an intergenerational space. It's one of representation. It's one of learning and education and curiosity and artistry all wrapped into one. And ultimately, it sort of feeds all aspects of myself, the creative side of me, the intellectual side of me, the bossy side of me, all into one, as well as the pedagogical side of me, all into one.
So I'll add that um, in my experience, when I started, when we start, we don't know where we're gonna end up, um, and so I believe it's just a series of decisions that you take on your day to day that eventually lead you to that goal that when you're on the first step, maybe you don't have the horizon to see where you're getting. So it's a series of small decisions that we take for sure. And in my case, it was a lot of self-determination because you know, from where I'm from, I was 15 years old. I took music a little later, and when I told my mom, I want to pursue this. Nobody in my family is a musician, so it's not a big um culture of music in the Dominican Republic. So when he received that from me, it was, whoa, hold on. And there was a series of challenges that came to that. Like I remember before coming into uh, Berkeley and Boston and the US to study music, um, she was, it was a little, there was some resistance to it. Like, all right, just I need, I need, I need you to go through, just go through college and give me something different than music. And after that, you can do whatever you want. Kind of like a safety net in a way. And so I had to go through that. And then after I finished that, actually my first undergrad, I did economics. And so after I finished that, it was like, that is self-determination allowed me to keep pursuing that. I was like, okay, I'm gonna apply for music school, and I'm gonna go. Right? You have to have that self-determination in you because I would say that if you want to pursue music, there's a lot of um, unknown things from the outside. So you have to be very confident in the decisions you take to pursue this path.
Yeah, thank you all so much. And that was beautiful at the end, Carlos. Thank you. So if we could all just briefly go around and sort of describe or sum up your education leading up to your current career. I know, Carlos, you hinted at that at the end, but if you guys can all just quickly say that.
I'll start, and then we can do like popcorn. I just to somebody. So as I said, my first degree was economics. I finished when I was 20. Then right after I finished July, I remember on August I was on a plane and came to Boston to start Berkeley September. Um, and I finished my undergrad study 2019, and then COVID happened and blah blah blah. Blah. And then actually I had the opportunity to do my grad studies also here in Boston, not in Berkeley, but in a smaller grad school called Longy. And that was a great program, I have to say. Um, it's located in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And if you ever are looking for opportunities for grad levels, I would 100 recommend um, Lundy School of Music. So that was my educational background. I'll pass it to Ash.
Sure. I started in public school in fourth grade, and I don't remember how old I was, but in any case, public school education, which um, is becoming more of a premium, unfortunately, these days to be able to access music in public schools. I grew up in Rochester, New York. I guess I could say that, and had youth orchestra experience, youth orchestras traveling to France and things like this, and being able to be part of a larger community. My heart is in chamber music, but in any case, got a chance to have a big chamber music experience with youth orchestra opportunity. I went to Baldwin Wallace College, which is a little bit outside of Cleveland area, sort of in between Oberlin and in between Cleveland Institute of Music. For my undergrad, I went as a violin performance music ed double major and graduated as a violist. So clearly a lot happened over those 4 years. I came to Boston, where I actually got a full ride to go to Boston University and was waitlisted at New England Conservatory. I got in off of that waitlist and not a full ride, but ended up going to New England Conservatory for my master's, where I felt like a very, very tiny tadpole in a very, very huge pond, huge lake, huge ocean, but absorbed so much during that experience. After that 2 year period, the leadership in me took over, and I found myself doing freelance work, as Sam had mentioned, and teaching, and starting projects. Went to Frankfurt, Germany, to do a year-long program with a new music ensemble called Ensemble Moderne, and eventually came back to Boston, where I currently am right now.
I also started in the public school system in Houston. I started playing violin when I was in first grade, and had a wonderful teacher who left the school after that first year. So then I just began studying with her privately. And I had many, many teachers when I was growing up because they were all kind of like grad student musicians that would then win a job and like go move to a different city. So I had quite the variety of teachers until when I was in high school. I had a teacher from the Houston Symphony who was extremely important mentor for me and who's the one that really pushed me to prepare for auditions. And tried as I might, I didn't get into any of the schools that I auditioned for, except Northwestern University with no financial aid, so I couldn't afford to go. But I went to the University of Texas as a non-music major, as a sociology major, sorry, social work major for my first year, and ended up taking a bunch of general education classes, and was still able to study with one of the violin professors there. Um, but I wasn't very happy with my experience and ended up transferring to the University of Houston, still as a violinist, and had an incredible teacher, Kyung Sun Lee, who's now at Indiana University. After about 2 years there, I got curious about the viola. I was at a chamber music festival one summer, and one of my friends was busking on the street and busking on viola, of course. And I asked if I could try it and just played some Bach and immediately fell in love with the timbre of the instrument, and emailed all of the viola teachers at University of Houston and asked if I could take lessons. And the person that got back to me first was Wayne Brooks, former principal violist of the Houston Symphony, another really incredible mentor and player. Um, and I toyed with the idea of doing a double major, but the viola stole my heart and I ditched the violin. Thank goodness. No offense to violinists, of course. Um, I, from there, uh, got my master's at the Mannes School of Music. That's part of the New School Network in Manhattan, New York. I spent 2 years in New York, and then during that time, I was exposed to Karen Tuttle coordination, which is sort of maybe I'll get a little bit more into that later, but it's a way of finding the most natural approach physically to the instrument and finding ways that your body can help impact your musical decisions. Um, and I found this really, really fascinating, and it like completely transformed my playing. So I sought out my most recent teacher, Michelle LaCourse, who's the chair of the string department at Boston University. And she was Karen Tuttle's teaching assistant for many, many years. So I went to go study with her to learn more about this. And I'm extremely glad that I did. And I have been in Boston ever since. I moved here when it was 2013. So it's been a bit of time now.
Great, thank you all so much. The next question is just to hear a little bit about what a typical week might look like in your field. And maybe for some of you, that's constantly changing, but maybe things that are constant or different kinds of projects or aspects of your musician life that you like to explore, if we can hear about what that looks like for you guys.
Who wants to jump in first?
I can go.
What?
I'll try to keep it brief.
Yeah.
So as a freelancer, every week is totally different. My constant is that I never have enough time to do as much as I want to. I teach about 20 students a week, so they're my little family of artists that I can count on seeing most of the time, unless I'm rescheduling lessons because I have to travel or something along those lines. But teaching is a huge part of my life in that way, and is my sort of uh, schedule bedrock. And then around that, I have a concert pretty reliably every weekend, if not sort of two overlapping projects. And that changes, well, on a weekly basis. Sometimes it's with an orchestra, or sometimes it's with a chamber ensemble or a quartet, or I'll be preparing a solo recital. Um, so, and now that I started Queer Ensemble Project, any little cracks in my schedule, I have all of the things. It's a two-person organization, so social media manager, fundraising, grant writing, creating programs, reaching out to potential donors, partnering with different outreach organizations. So yeah, never enough time, but very thankful for all the work.
I might piggyback off of that, and the administrative life is really my full time. So my organization, which is called Castle of Our Skins Concert and Education Series, celebrating Black artistry through music and the arts in Boston, is my full time job. I get health benefits and a steady paycheck from that. And for a nonprofit sector, which your youth orchestra or your music school might be a nonprofit, that's kind of impressive, not to sort of toot my own horn, but to be able to have something that lives beyond a few years and can actually sustain you is no small feat. So that has a lot of dedication and a lot of brain space as artistic director, being able to put together programs, thinking 1 to 2 years out, the collaborative projects with certainly musicians as well as other artists and things like this. And then I am also the violist of that group. So my brain space is 95% administrative. And then I realize I have to be a violist, sort of switch gears and take the viola out to be on stage. So I find that when I graduated with my first master's from New England Conservatory, the idea of sort of hustling was very much part of my culture, where anything that came through, I was glued to my inbox. If there was a gig, I was on it. And now I'm far more selective with my time because the connections, as I shared, is something important to me. The connections that I'm building with community take up so much more profundity, so much more importance for me, and is sort of soul satisfying for me, that gets far more weight in my life. And I feel like I have more impact there than I do from even if it's only just me on stage. But I feel like I have a evolving sense of responsibility, and so administration and the work that I'm doing takes up my week, my day, most of my waking moments. And I sort of joke that I'm a midnight violist. In those cracks, I get a chance to learn my repertoire that I've assigned or other freelance work that I'm able to do.
Oh, it's nice. And it's I just as a comment, what you said, it's great when you um are clear on your priorities and you're clear on your passion as well, right? And for me, it's from week to week, it varies. It varies. But I would say that I have uh non-negotiable non-negotiable times, which is just connecting with the instrument. I like to sit with the instrument at least for 45 minutes a day. That would be maybe the first thing I do in the morning, just go in the drums and um and then a spin-off of that is story time. That's also non-negotiable for me, and that could be all sorts of things. It could be musically related or not, but those are kind of two things that I have in the day that are non-negotiable, just the practice time and the study time. And then during weekdays, um um I do a lot of teaching artist job, and I go to a lot. I provide arts to a lot of communities. Most of the sites that I go are Boston public schools, but I also see other type of communities in which I go and provide some kind of arts education. And then that takes, I would say, about, you know, 20 to 25 hours a week, something like that. And then on the weekends, um, because I started off as a performer, and then my first kind of network was based off of that. Yeah, I would say that I'm actively performing, and thankfully those happens at weekends. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday I might be out here in the city of Boston or elsewhere, just playing the drums, and that's something that is really fulfilling. Just a very it's it's a great feeling that stays on me.
Thank you all so much. So I'm really hearing like all of you guys are balancing a lot of things all at once. So I'm curious to hear a little bit about with all these different aspects of your life that some are constant, some are constantly changing. Ashley, we were talking about being selective with what you're doing, and Carlos about those non-negotiables. How do you guys maintain a healthy work-life balance? Or do you have any advice on maintaining a healthy work-life balance?
I might take that one on. I think for me, what has very much helped is the mindset that I've adopted, and I attribute this to Andrew Simone, Making Your Life as an Artist. It's a free downloadable book. There's workshops and all sorts of things that if anyone is interested, Andrew Simone, Making Your Life as an Artist. I came across this after I graduated with my first master's and was sort of doing the hustle life. And the idea of being able to um, sort of marry oneself, to know thyself and to sort of marry the elements of oneself. So to recognize, also echoing, I think, Sam, you had said this, that the orchestral life, administrative life, you sort of knew things that you didn't want, and also knowing things that you do want, right? And also knowing the sort of person that you are. And I'll speak as myself as an example, so knowing the person that I am. So I'm curious. I ask a lot of questions and I have a lot of opinions. So sitting in the back of a section was not for me. I very much enjoyed being able to have one-on-one mentorship as an educator. So the double degree that I was getting in public school education wasn't a good fit for me in order to be an educator. I very much enjoy creating my own worlds. I consider myself as a violist, a sound engineer. So I manipulate sounds, I manipulate concepts, I manipulate spaces. I'm being able to directly impact and shape the experiences. I want to be part of that. So that being a leader was very natural and part of that for me. Being able to have my own curiosity fulfilled while also bringing other people in and inviting other people to be curious was really important for me. So in any case, as opposed to fighting with myself, because I was supposed to be, or I had a career trajectory that was leading me to X, according to someone else, I ended up finding ways to just marry the interests of me and fundamentally finding my own mission statement for the reason I, as a citizen, exist. And that is to be able to be a connector. So for myself, as long as I'm connecting, as long as I'm being a bridge builder, I have harmony. And in your question about the sort of work-life balance, if I'm fighting myself because I'm doing things that are counter to what my mission is personally, it's going to be very difficult. But if I can find excitement and see the opportunity that is in front of me, whether it's a viola or a desk or a student or being outside in a public space or a protest, whatever it may be, if it's fundamentally feeding the same core value, then I'm in harmony with myself, and it's less of work, but it's more mission driven, if that makes any sense. And that was not something that I learned in a class. I wish I did in my undergrad or either one of my two masters, but was very much me sort of figuring and learning and absorbing and searching, ultimately being curious and searching for ways in which I could navigate that felt authentic for me. So I guess my answer would be finding mission alignment with work and play and really all that I do. So I'm in harmony with myself.
I'll
That
jump
was
in.
such.
Well, you take
Sorry,
it,
you
Sam.
go. No, no,
You
no, no,
you
no. You go. You go.
um I just wanted to say that and it's very related to what you were saying, Ash. Um you definitely have to know yourself. And in finding that balance, you know, work life, when you know yourself, you know the things you have to do to take care of yourself. And those are the things that you will do um when you have the free time, when you're on your um life path versus work path, right? You will aim to do the things that it would feel good to you and it would fill up your soul and your well-being so you can continue to um, thrive and do the things you do with passion.
I think my fellow panelists gave very beautiful answers, and I'll sit this one out. I don't have that much to add.
Okay, great. The next question is sort of about like what kind of challenges that you feel you constantly face in your line of work, in your career, and how you sort of handle them and approach them.
Maybe
Um,
I'll take this one. Um, my answer for the time management was that it's very, very difficult for me because, and I'll get to this question as well, because you become an artist because you're fueled by the art that you're creating and that you're spending all of your time on. So it doesn't really feel like work until you're exhausted, for me at least. Um, so to answer a challenge that I find in this job is sort of how to create a schedule that is doable, that gives you enough time to get enough sleep and to eat healthfully and to exercise, while still being able to maintain the level of performance, or the number of students or whatever is on your plate. So just for myself, that's kind of difficult because I get so excited by all of the projects that are in front of me, and I am very much a yes person. Maybe too much of that hustle lifestyle, um, where I often find that I've overcommitted a little bit, and then you know, that is difficult. Um, One thing that may be a little bit more universally applicable to other people in the music field is losing opportunities or auditions. This is just kind of something that a musician has to get used to. It's unrealistic to think that you're going to win every opportunity that comes in front of you. Um, and the way that I handle that is just to treat every instance, anything that I'm auditioning for or being considered for, as an opportunity to learn more about myself, both as a player, and as an artist. And if, to kind of look a little bit further, other than, it stinks that I didn't win this audition, but why didn't I? What can I do better next time? Whose advice can I seek to have a better shot? How can I change the way that maybe the timetable of my preparation or the type of preparation itself? So I guess it's really sort of a growth mindset idea of, if you lose something, it doesn't invalidate all the work that you've done. It just informs how you can proceed and work in a different way. Um, so so that's how I deal with that very real challenge. And then the last thing that I might add, now that I have this small small organization, is that I have no education in music business or fundraising or grant writing, which I think is more of a pitfall of the classical music education system. And it's all really coming to a head right now as I'm trying to plan concerts. And it's very frustrating um, to not be able to move full steam ahead, and I kind of have to educate myself. But I educate myself and move forward, and that's the end of that.
Carlos, did you have thoughts on this one?
Hey, yeah, I do. I'll be quick so we can all share. But something that I would say is that um, I feel like, and not only music, but all aspects of life, um, you will always find challenges. Um, like it's just how it is. You'll find challenges. And so what I would recommend is that you learn yourself how to be humble enough to say this is a challenge and listen intentionally, because there's always people that are around you that um, want to help. So I would say don't be afraid of asking for help. If you find a challenge and you don't know the answer, just know that there's people that are definitely want to help. And also that when I started in with the music thing, whatever, as a starting point, it feels like a competition, and it's a little unhealthy because um you're studying, he plays this way and I play that way. It feels like a competition where in reality we can all coexist. We can all have our artistic voices, and just um just trying to get that mindset of this is not a competition. We all have a place here.
Yeah, and just to echo on mindset, I had shared I'm Jamaican, and anyone who's listening, if you're from a Caribbean background, discipline and hard work, and you just do. That's very much part of it, part of your upbringing. And for me, that came to be as I grew older, very much an obsession, very clearly, and without any sort of steering off of the road to workaholism, and just uh, being burnt out, but still moving forward, which is not healthy. So I'm not suggesting to do that. And I think part of that being how I was raised, and the idea of drive, and if you work hard, things will come. Also being fed externally, so that became an internal sort of mantra for me, and then externally seeing that reinforced, just hard work, hard work, hard work, keep doing hard work. That I think very much is a challenge and a very negative adoption of a mindset that is unhealthy. And it became for me to handle for myself a way of thinking of, okay, well, how can I lead in the most authentic and fullest pace that is, again, in harmony with the values that I want to bring forth into the community that I am influencing and that I'm benefiting from. And I have to sort of talk myself down from things. So saying no more than I say yes to various opportunities, whether that's in my leadership as an artistic director, or whether that's as a freelancer or as an educator, or what it may be as a human, right? Because we're talking about literally the same person, even though we wear multiple hats. So the challenge that I continue to have to face, one of my top challenges, is the pace by which, and the high, unwieldy, and only snowballing further escalation of expectation. And that's kind of a lot to sort of throw out there, but also realizing that the world will still turn, that the sunset will still rise the sunset will still fall after the sunrise, right? There's cycles, things will keep moving forward. whether or not it's at an escalated pace or whether or not it's at a slower pace, things will keep moving forward, and to remind myself of that. Also, as a freelancer and an entrepreneur, uh, I don't work for someone else. So it is me that is setting the tempo. It's me that's setting the pace of things. So if I have something to complain about the pace, it's my own doing. So I try to remind myself that I have more agency uh, with how I'm able to move and at what speed when I do potentially get overwhelmed or I feel off kilter or not in harmony. Uh, yeah.
Thank you all so much for these. These are such beautiful, insightful answers. Before we get to our last question, I just want to ask about what kinds of maybe character traits or what we might call soft skills do you think are really crucial to have or to build in the music industry and in your career?
I might jumpstart with this one and to reiterate what Sam had said about sort of the fall negligence of college music education around not having enough business savviness as being valued. There's literally a book called Beyond Talent by Angela Miles Beeching, and it takes more than just talent, being great on your fancy wooden box with four strings if you play viola, for instance, then that's required to be able to make a thriving and joyful life in music or outside of music, right? It takes more than that. So I think for me, the idea of curiosity is so foundational for so many reasons. If there's an opportunity to learn, if there's a new class, if you can audit something, if there's a workshop, if someone is doing something that you don't know, ask a lot of questions. Just be open. And thinking about a vessel like a cup, it has its greatest value when it's empty because it can be a receiver for information. And if you're in middle school, you're in college, or you're in the business for 40 years, be a vessel, be a receiver, and know that you have antennas and eyes and ears open. I'll also, along those lines, the idea of openness, there's only something that you specifically are able to bring forward into this world. I very much believe that. And there's only through your lived experience, through your vantage point, an opportunity to be able to do something that's so unique. And it's unique because it's derived from you, right? And so the idea of just being very much aware if there are holes, if there's opportunities that aren't already in existence, if there's voids basically in the world that you see around you, music or otherwise, step into them, engage in curiosity and see where that takes you. It may very beautifully lead you to a career, to a life, to a whole community that you wouldn't have had the fortune of experiencing otherwise.
I'll go. You just wait like 5, 10 seconds. Okay, I'll go. So I'll say that um, some soft skills that I believe are necessary, especially in the music world. Um, I 100% agree with you, Ash, and also Sam, because you have to stay curious. Um, you have to stay curious, and you have to um, you know, be humble enough that you can tell yourself, you know what, um, um, I can continue to learn, and put yourself out in situations that allow that experience. Um, so be curious 100%. You also have to um, be very disciplined, I have to say, especially when you're starting off, uh, or not even that. Like, there's a lot of examples of people that when they finish, let's say they finish their undergrad studies, and they lack that guidance of curriculum. Um, you have you have to have that self-discipline of I need to sit down and keep doing the work. Whatever that might be to you. That could be, practicing your instruments, studying this, studying that, whatever. You have to have that self-discipline that allows you to continue to be in the craft and be the better version of yourself that you can be every day, right? It's an ongoing thing. And just also be happy where you are at the moment, right? Because as I said, it's not a competition with anybody, but it's also not a competition with yourself. So you have to be grateful and where you are at the moment. Um, and do I have? Oh yeah, the last thing that I think is very important, not only in music but in all other professional careers, is I would say 95% of it is to show up. Just show up, and that's it. You know, you have to show up. That's it.
Show up on time. There's, some sort of nuts and bolts of like showing up on time and being performance ready for the first rehearsal. It's boring to talk about, but it really serves a young musician's career quite a bit. I think my most influential teacher told me she would never be where she was in her career without that advice. And I really took it to heart. And of course, I don't know what my career would look like if I hadn't shown up prepared to rehearsals, but I think it's something, well, Carlos just reminded me of that. So I wanted to piggyback off of that. Um, I have maybe two things to talk about for soft skills. One of which is being brave and taking risks. I think that our greatest opportunity for growth is when we are put in a situation that is not comfortable, whether that's taking an audition for the concerto competition with your youth orchestra. And yes, it's going to be a lot of work and it's going to be difficult, and you might have to, or you will certainly have to face the fact that you may not succeed in the competition, but you will grow so much as an artist and a technician during the process of that preparation. And I think the more we can get used to that feeling of discomfort, or maybe even reframe it in a way of like, this is what learning feels like, or this is what self-improvement and growing outside of your old self is, um, the more successful you'll be as an artist. So just, I'm not saying to take every risk. There is some calculation, but to do things that you know will be a challenge for you, and to trust that you can rise to the occasion. Um, I find that that is very important. The next thing would be to lean into your community of musicians. I think as a career, one of our biggest assets is community. So just making sure to be kind and compassionate. This is particularly important as a freelancer, because you know people want to work with you, but on a more human level, it's just the right thing to do. And being a musician or working in any form of the arts is a difficult lifestyle, and just knowing that your colleague has your back, or that you can support someone when they're going through a hard time, whatever that looks like, I think is something that's really beautiful in our line of work. And young musicians sometimes get a little bit caught up in the competitive nature of of our industry, and can not be the kindest. So I just like to remind people that that's really um, quite important.
You're a citizen first, right? Part of a community, you're a human. So be kind.
Yeah, thank you all. Our last question, we can just make this a pretty short one, but I just want to hear what you guys are most proud of in your journey as a musician or in your career.
I can just speak really quickly. That's a hard question to answer. But maybe the most generally speaking is through my teaching hat. I find so much gratification when I see a student that has deepened their connection with music, um, whether that's winning a competition or just learning, oh, I can play something in a sad way. It doesn't always have to be fast and happy and exciting. Um, I think that knowing that I'm teaching someone to feel their emotions more deeply through an instrument is like one of the most special gifts that you can give someone. So I would say generally that's when I'm the most proud, when it's like, yes, you did it and you're going to do it again and then you're going to teach someone else that. Yeah.
I'll say something very quick. Um, and I don't know, when I was just thinking about that just now, it's like, um, am I being selfish for thinking this? But I don't think so. And I think what I'm most proud about is that I'm most proud about the trust I have in myself because it has allowed me to um taking the steps to be where I am today. So, it's like a hug to yourself, like I'm proud of you. You can say that.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm most proud of the platform that I've been able to develop. So, sort of lifting as I climb, being able to provide space for myself and uh, Black creatives from all over the world, and knowing that we have a big and bright and wide spotlight. Everyone is able to be part of it, and there's space for everyone to um, be satisfied, be fulfilled. That's probably my most proudest to have a hand in creating such a foundation for others.
Wow, yeah. Thank you all so much. This was really beautiful. That will conclude our webinar for today. But again, I'd just like to say a big thank you to our three guest speakers, Sam, Ash, Carlos. You all shared such important, beautiful insight for all of our young musicians out there. And thank you to anyone who is watching either live or through our recording. To our audience, we have one more webinar coming up next week, so please check out our website if you'd like to sign up. And thank you all so much again, and have a great rest of your evening. Bye-bye.